used to think the hardest part of working the graveyard shift was staying awake. I was 22, working asset protection for a sprawling corporate office park just outside of the city. It was a 3-building complex, mostly tech startups and logistics firms. My job description was simple. Sit in a tiny, fluorescent-lit booth, watch a wall of 16 monitors, and do a walking patrol of the buildings once every 3 hours. It paid $15 an hour, and for the first 6 months, it was the easiest money I'd ever made. I spent most of my time playing games on my phone or studying. The nights were dead quiet. If you've never been in a massive corporate office at 3 in the morning, it's hard to describe the emptiness. The air conditioning hums, the vending machines buzz, and the shadows stretched across empty cubicles look like people if you stare at them too long. But you get used to it. You learn the personality of the building. You know which floorboards creak when the building settles, and which pipes rattle when the water runs. Until one Tuesday night, right around 2:45 a.m., I was halfway through a cup of terrible, lukewarm gas station coffee, waiting for my 3 a.m. patrol. The monitors in front of me were a grid of gray and black. Then, the camera overlooking the basement storage corridor of Building B flickered. It filled with heavy static, the tracking lines rolling violently across the screen. I reached over and tapped the side of the monitor, thinking it was just a loose cable. The static cleared, and that's when I saw it. At the very end of the hallway, just on the edge of the camera's infrared night vision range, a door was open. It was the door to the utility crawl space, a narrow trench that ran beneath the entire foundation of the complex to house the main water lines. That door was heavy steel, and it was always supposed to be deadbolted. I zoomed in. The low-resolution digital zoom made everything blocky, but I could clearly see a shape sticking out from the dark gap of the open door. It looked like a pair of shoes, worn out, muddy sneakers. My stomach did a slight drop. In this line of work, 99% of the time, a weird shadow is just a janitor's mop bucket or a trash can left in the wrong spot. But these were definitely shoes. I picked up my heavy flashlight, clipped my radio to my belt, and locked the security booth behind me. The walk across the courtyard to Building B felt different that night. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of upcoming rain. When I entered the basement level, the familiar smell of damp concrete and old paper hit me, but underneath it, there was something else. A sour, metallic odor. I walked down the long corridor, my flashlight beam cutting a sharp circle into the dark. "Security," I called out. My voice sounded small, swallowed up by the concrete walls. "Building is closed. If you're a contractor, I need to see your badge." No answer. Just the steady drip of a leaky pipe somewhere in the walls. I reached the utility door. The shoes I had seen on the monitor were gone, but the door was absolutely unlocked, resting open by about 2 inches. I pushed it open and shone my light into the crawl space. It was a dirt floor trench, barely 4 feet high, meaning you had to crouch to get through it. The beam of my flashlight illuminated dust motes dancing in the air, old copper pipes, and fresh, deep footprints leading deeper into the dark beneath the building. About 10 feet into the crawl space, my flashlight hit something else. There was a sleeping bag. Next to it were several empty canned food wrappers, a rusted hunting knife, and a stack of papers. I stepped closer, lowering my head to avoid hitting the low ceiling. I knelt down and pointed the light at the papers. They weren't trash. They were printouts of company rosters and shift schedules. And right at the top of the page, highlighted in yellow marker, was my name. Next to it, someone had handwritten my exact arrival times, my break times, and the precise minutes I usually started my building patrols. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Someone had been living down here, directly under my feet, watching me for weeks. They knew my routine better than I did. I grabbed my radio, my hand shaking so badly I almost dropped it. "Dispatch, this is Unit 1. I need local PD at Building B basement. I have signs of a forced entry and a squatter. Repeat, I need police." A click cut me off. The radio didn't cut out. Someone overrode the frequency. Through the static, a voice came through. It wasn't the dispatcher. It was a low, raspy wheeze, completely devoid of emotion. "You're late for your 3 o'clock walk, Marcus." Then came a sudden, violent, metallic banging deeper under the building. Whoever it was, they weren't running away. They were moving toward the access ladder that led up into the main lobby of Building B. I didn't think. I scrambled backward out of the crawl space, skinned my knees on the concrete, and slammed the heavy steel utility door shut. I threw the deadbolt into place just as something slammed into the other side of the door with incredible force. The metal groaned and the handle rattled violently. I ran. I didn't look back. I flew up the basement stairs, sprinted across the dark courtyard, and locked myself inside the glass security booth. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely dial 911 on the desk phone. While the emergency operator was taking my information, I forced myself to look back up at the monitor wall. The basement camera was completely black, but the camera facing the glass doors of the security booth I was currently sitting in was crystal clear. Standing just outside the perimeter of the parking lot lights, right at the edge of the tree line, was a man. He was tall, thin, wearing a filthy, oversized flannel shirt. He wasn't trying to hide. He was standing perfectly still, staring directly at the security booth, directly at me. In his right hand, he was holding a small, black object. He lifted it to his face. My radio crackled to life on the desk. "I see you," the wheezing voice whispered through the speaker. The police arrived 7 minutes later, sirens blaring and headlights cutting through the dark. The man vanished into the woods the second the first siren echoed in the distance. They searched the crawl space and the surrounding woods with K9 units. They found his camp, his knife, and his notes on me, but they never caught him. The police told